Hi, welcome to Ghost Tales. I'm your host, Ashley Knight, and we're here just to have some fun talking about some spooky stories from the town of Suffolk, from the city of Suffolk, rather. Here with me today is Mary Margaret. She is joining us. She's with the city of Suffolk, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about the city of Suffolk. Wonderful to have you with us today, Mary Margaret.
Good morning, Ashley. It's wonderful to be here. I've come all the way from the spirit world, also known as the pub.
The pub.
Yes. I haven't had a drink. I run the place. Okay. Castle Inn.
Thank you for joining us from such a distance. We appreciate you coming in. And I understand you have some tales to tell us about Suffolk, which is quite haunted. I think people disregard Suffolk. They think of more like Norfolk or Portsmouth as the major, or even Virginia Beach as the major haunted locations in the area. People don't really think about Suffolk as being all that haunted, but it is, isn't it?
We have a lot of tales to tell in Suffolk, ghosts, hauntings. Sometimes it's just feeling people get in certain places and certain homes. We have some that are very haunted, like the Apprentice house, for example, is a very haunted, arguably the most haunted building in Suffolk. But and of course, on our walks we take folks through the cemetery, which used to be the farm of John Constant, who was our first English settler in Suffolk, and so we take them through there, and we've had several experiences actually there. But and sometimes we just tell stories that are disturbing, or
if they're a ghost tale, they're disturbing. I would think.
yes. Some are amusing though. Some ghosts are like a poltergeist. It could be we have one home where the poltergeist just rearranges these figurines that are on in someone's office on their shelves. They go in every morning and they're in a different order, that sort of thing. Probably responsible for the socks you lose in your dryers that you have today, and that sort of thing.
Oh my goodness!
But
not a problem you had in your day.
No. We never
you
lost
knew
our
where
socks.
the socks were.
Yes,
They're just
absolutely.
out on the line.
Usually we only had one pair, so they were on our feet.
Right.
Yeah. So
that makes sense. But tell me, okay, we're going to start this journey at the visitor center.
Yes.
The Suffolk Visitor Center is haunted. How? Tell me about that.
Well, that's one of the more amusing hauntings, because there was actually an attorney who had a heart attack and died.
Oh dear.
In that courthouse. That courthouse actually stands on the site of 3 courthouses. The first we lost to the British in the Revolutionary War. The second we lost in the Great Fire of 1837, and then we have the one now. And so the elevator comes down, the doors open. A few minutes later, the toilet in the men's room flushes, and then a few minutes later, the elevator will go back up. And this was a strange occurrence that's been going on for some time, and it just happens randomly. But more recently, there was a grandmother and her son who were visiting, and the grandson had to go use the restroom, and so he was in there, and she was ready to leave, and he'd been there quite some time. So she opens the door and yells in, "Come on, I'm ready to go." And he says, "No, I can't." And so she goes inside, and he's locked himself in one of the stalls. And she said, "Come on, we have to go." She said, "No." He says, "No, I can't leave until the zombie man in the corner leaves." So perhaps that's the same ghost that is involved with the elevators and that.
Wow.
But that's the biggest ghost story that we tell for the courthouse at any rate.
Oh my word.
And then the visitor center used to be in the Apprentice house, which, as I told you, is probably one of the most haunted buildings in Suffolk. But the Apprentice house, things begin to materialize during renovations a lot of times. Have you heard that from other folks? That renovations stir things up.
Stir it up.
Well,
yes.
It's definitely true in Suffolk. Renovations will stir things up.
Yes.
And so that was the case with the Apprentice house. It also was the case with the Gardner store. Now, the Gardner store is directly across the railroad tracks from the Apprentice house. And the Gardner store is also very haunted. And actually, they had an incident involving a pocket door from the Prentice house. Do you know what a pocket door is?
do.
For folks that don't know, the doors open like this,
They
and then they
slide and
slide
they
into the wall.
conceal into the wall.
Right. So
Yes.
they had a pocket door that they had converted into, repurposed as a shelf in this, at what was a tea room. These ladies they had opened a tea room, and so it flew off the shelf, flew off the wall, and almost took someone's head off.
Oh, my goodness.
And that the renovations is when they first started seeing things there. The gentleman was very meticulous about his tools as he was renovating the house, and so he would always put them very neatly in the basement in the toolbox, and come back the next day and they'd be strewn all over the basement. So a lot of strange things have
We're just
gone on
inspecting,
at the
looking at these
store.
weird tools.
Yes,
Yeah. When
yes.
was the renovation happening?
I really don't know. I mean, it was in modern times, in your time, but I'm not quite sure when they renovated it, to be honest with you.
But yeah, that'll stir up quite a bit, quite a
Yes.
bit of things.
And the Prentice house would actually look like a haunted house when it was finally renovated. It actually had a tree growing out of the roof, and so the people that were renovating, they reported, I mean, normal things as far as hauntings go, like footsteps and voices and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But I thought one of the most interesting things was they would hear doors slammed when no doors had yet been hung. So that's,
Oh, wow.
yes,
Oh,
and a
my
lot of
goodness.
occurrences there.
Wow.
Every business or entity that moves into that place, including when it was a visitor center, they all experience the same types of things.
Yeah. That's really, oh, okay. So yeah, I can understand the renovation kind of disturbing something that is lurking there. Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Cedar Hill Cemetery and all the stuff that has happened there. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Ghost Tales. With me from the city of Suffolk is Mary Margaret. And forgive me, Mary Margaret, what year are you from?
I'm from the colonial era.
The colonial era.
Colonial era.
I failed to mention that
That's all right.
beforehand. I'm so sorry for not properly introducing you. But talk about the Cedar Hill Cemetery is also. Is that the one right around the corner from the visitor center?
Yes,
In Suffolk, in
yes,
downtown Suffolk. Tell me what you've experienced there. What's happened there?
Well, we personally, what we've experienced as guides, taking people through, is that it's like the wild kingdom in there. We've been startled by deer. We used to have a fox that met us there and that sort of thing. We go there at night. And so all the nocturnal creatures come out at night. And we have one very interesting story, I think, is there's a fellow who plays his bagpipes. He practices them in the cemetery.
Oh.
And he goes to a particular bench and he wipes the bench off completely before he lays his case down, and he does his practice, and then he goes back to the bench. But one time when he went back to the bench, he saw something that happened there before, and it was an arrowhead. And when he took it to the local Nansman tribe, they confirmed that it was thousands of years old. It was a very old arrowhead, and so you have to wonder, was he playing particularly well that day and they rewarded him, or was he
was it a
playing
threat?
particularly poor that day? And
You're waking us up.
right.
Cut it out.
And then there's actually something you have something called YouTube
Yes.
in your day,
Yes.
and apparently there's some footage of, if you type in Confederate ghost Cedar Hill Cemetery, Suffolk, Virginia, make sure you do the Suffolk, Virginia part, because otherwise you
It'll
won't
pop
be able
up
to
somewhere
find
else.
it. But it's actually a Confederate ghost that was caught on film. Actually, they had, every now and then they have a rededication of a stone, and at this particular time, everything went well. The ceremony went just fine, but when the fellow that filmed it went back to his office to view the footage, what he saw was, as the camera pans one way, you see a Confederate soldier with his hand over his heart, and he's floating in thin air. He's in a part of the cemetery because it's hilly, where he would have to be 12 foot tall or floating
If he
on
were
thin
standing
air.
on the
If he
ground,
was standing
yeah.
on the ground. But but it pans back almost immediately, and when it pans back, he's gone.
Oh, wow.
And so that's one of the.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps.
And then, of course, as I said, we take we tell tragic stories,
Yes.
and perhaps the saddest involves a fellow. He was John King. He was a pioneer in the peanut industry, and his wife, she was having trouble with rodents in her house, and so she put some arsenic in some stale cake and put it in the cupboard, and their two children, O.C., who was 3, and John, who was 8, found it together and shared it, and then died shortly thereafter.
Oh,
So
my
we have
goodness.
really tragic stories like that, which is why it's important. We have some stops where we just tell history, and it provides a break, because some of these stories are kind of heavy and that sort of
Yes.
thing. So the Castle Inn is where one of the stops, and if there's a long span between two houses, we do that, and Castle Inn is that. So I sing a body tune, or we tell about colonial history, or word origins, or that kind of thing, and it kind of raises the mood a little bit before we
Dive
move
back
on.
into
Yes, we
the
move
deeper,
on.
heavy stuff. And tell me about Riddick's Folly. I've passed by Riddick's Folly quite a few times and wanted to go in. What can I expect when I go there?
Well, Riddick's Folly is definitely a step back in time when you go in, but sometimes I heard disembodied voices in the parlor as though at a social gathering. If you're a docent there, you might be run quite a bit some days. They will have, the doorbell ring, and they'll be up on another floor and the door will open and they'll call hello and come down, and no one's there. Often people will see a gentleman, walking up and down the hallway, in a suit from like the 1800s. He'll be walking up and down the hallway. A lot of goings on there. A lot of goings on.
So
in
it's
Riddick's
very, very active.
Yes.
Very active.
Very
building.
much so.
Oh my goodness, I need to get in there. And tell us about the train station. I've driven by the train station, and you don't really, you're like, oh, that's the train station. But there's some things that go on there too.
Well, folks, we take them in there at night, and the lighting is almost non-existent. There's a little bit of red light in there, and we tell them the story of the Suffolk, the Jackson Road light. It's an
Jackson Road light.
old Suffolk ghost story.
Okay.
And it involves so the story goes that there was a family on the border of the Great Dismal of Virginia and North Carolina at the Great Dismal Swamp, and one of their children took ill, and they sent the father out for help. And at Jackson Road, there was a train coming, and thinking that someone on board might be able to help his child, he was waving a lantern trying to stop the train, but in waving his lantern, he got his foot caught in the track, and so now he's bent over, still waving the lantern, trying also to get his boot out. Well, when the search party went out, they found a gruesome sight. They found that there lay the man's body, his hand still clutching the lantern, but his head was nowhere to be found. And so the story is that, that sometimes if you go out to Jackson Road late at night, you can see the lantern as he looks for his head.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay.
But
This
folks
is
in
just
the train
crazy.
station have also experienced things like they had a telegraph. There's a tower there. I'm sure you've seen the tower. And actually, some folks have asked us, have we seen the child in the tower? So, because they have seen one in the tower before, but there was a telegraph machine there, and it used to go off all the time. Someone would be sending messages like all throughout the day. They finally removed it. It got so annoying.
Wow.
And then there
Because
was
it was happening so often.
yes,
Oh my
and then there
goodness.
was someone who was doing some inventory in there, and they had. I understand used to have some of these contraptions where it played music, but then there was what you call a radio coming through the other side. And so the radio was on, and it's just at will switched over to a child's CD for no reason at all. Actually, they had a horrible flood in there, so it's been closed for almost a year now, I think, but it's getting
Really?
ready to open back up. So we're really excited about it opening back up. So
Yes.
because people really enjoy going in there and hearing a scary story in a scary
Sure. Because
setting.
it's an interesting, it's an interesting place. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk a bit more about some spooky experiences. Stay with us. And welcome back to Ghost Tales. Here with me is Karen Washburn with the City of Suffolk with History Alive. Thank you for joining us. We had a very interesting woman here joining us a little bit while ago. Mary Margaret was regaling us with some stories about the City of Suffolk. So talk about what you as a ghost tour guide have experienced on your travels throughout Suffolk.
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the other guide, Kevin,
Yes.
who got me into it, actually, who hired me, and he's excellent as well.
Yes.
It's very interesting for two people to do it versus one, because you can play off of each other.
Yes, yes.
But getting to things that we've experienced, that was a question you asked me. Well, my favorite is we have a couple stories where we say, and that used to be the end of the story. And one of those is the Apprentice house. We always tell the tale on the steps of the Apprentice house. And we were doing that. We had a very large group. We had about 25 people that night. And and halfway through our tale, the door opens and this woman steps out, and she didn't disturb us, and she allowed us to finish. And then she said, would you all like to come in and hear my story? And we said, sure. So we're bringing 25 people into the hallway. Now, there's a staircase going up one side and then the hallway down the other side. And we're up on the steps and in the hallway, and it's very crowded in there. And she begins to tell us about, she had just opened up a shop in there, and that she had created this beautiful display a few nights before. And that's in the morning she came in, it looked like someone had just taken their hand and wiped the whole thing off of there. And so she came in the next night to try again, and this time she brought her son with her, who was very young. And she said she wasn't there but a few minutes before he started tugging at her shirt, saying that they had to go. And she said, no, we just got here, I've work to do, go over there and play, leave me alone. So he goes over for a few minutes to play, and then he comes back and tugs at her shirt again and says, Mom, we have to go. And she says, I told you I have work to do, please go play, And the third time he comes and he pulls her shirt, and this time he says, Mom, they say we have to go. And she says, who says? And she goes and looks out the window to see if maybe there's somebody outside. Nothing, everything's quiet. She goes and she says, tell me exactly what they're saying. And he said, they say that daytime is our time, but nighttime is their time.
Wow.
And this woman has just brought 25 people at night into the hallway. And I have to
You're like, what have we gotten ourselves into?
and I have to tell you, it was months for months we told that story in the parking lot instead of on the steps.
Instead of inside.
Because we didn't want to upset anybody.
We're okay.
So,
We're
yes,
okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. And you once had a mother-daughter along for one of the tours, and you said they were sensitives, meaning that they could sense and see things and experience things in the spirit world.
Yes, and they had come. The conversation started with them sharing with us that in the cemetery they had seen someone up on the hill, and they said that this was a common occurrence for them, and that it was not a pleasant thing to live with that kind of sensitivity, because they see things all the time and see things they really wish they hadn't seen, and that kind of thing. And then we have folks that tell us, about, like as I had said, about like the child in the, that's up in the tower, and there are people definitely that seem to be more sensitive than others. And also there's a home that was, I think it was owned by the 5th mayor of Suffolk. At any rate, there was some renovations going on, and the painter heard someone coming up the stairs and thought it was the owners. He could smell cigar smoke, and when he turned around to greet them, it was a man. He just looked at the paint job and went, huh, and then he was never seen again. Some folks that have owned that house have said that they've experienced a lot of things, and then other owners say, "Oh no, it's not haunted. We've never had
have anything happening
yes,
here."
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's interesting how disparate it is. Like, some one group of people will experience things, and you have others who, I was going through Fairy Plantation House, and as we were going through with the tour guides, I heard something, and the cameraman who was with me was right next to me, and he said he didn't hear anything. But one of the tour guides said he heard it, and one of the other tour guides said she didn't hear it. And so we heard it later when we watched the video back, but it was kind of interesting how who heard it and who didn't, but we're all there in the same room at the same time. And I've heard stories about, equipment, like they'll have more than one piece of equipment to pick up, sounds or whatever, and one piece of equipment will pick something up and one won't. And that's why they say, that's why we have two, because sometimes one won't, and it's just really interesting how that plays out. But how long have you been a tour guide with Suffolk?
About 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, been
And
a
you
long
enjoy
time.
it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Still?
yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Like I was saying, we also entertain in between. Like if there, as I said, some of the stops are longer. You can't pick and choose which houses are haunted and which ones aren't. So, sometimes there'll be a little bit of a distance, and we'll fill that with something
With history.
entertaining. Yeah.
What's the body song that you sing?
The Scotsman is what I usually sing.
Okay.
But I used to sing two, and the second one that I sang, I had it involved some infidelity, and there was like a small child on the walk,
Oh, dear.
which we have children on the walk. Usually it goes right over
Right.
there. So at any rate, I won't say he was promiscuous, because he was he was just very intelligent. He wasn't, annoying or anything like that. But after the song, he comes up to me and he says, "I don't understand. How was he was her father, but he wasn't her father?" And I said, "Dear, usually that goes right over children's head, but you're taller than most. And so you're going to have to ask your grandmother about that," because his grandmother had brought him, and his grandmother said very quickly, "Oh no,
We're not
he'll
doing
be asking his parents about that when he gets
We're leaving that one for mom and dad.
Right,
We're sidestepping that one.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Oh, that's funny. And in Suffolk, it's really interesting. Do you prefer, do you go around to the other ghost tours in the other cities at all, or do you just stay in Suffolk? I mean, for experience, for your own experience,
Right.
do you go to the others?
No, actually, the only ghost walks I've ever been on were the ones that I've
'cause
done
that's enough.
myself. So, anyway, I enjoy hearing the stories, but I don't ever want to be that person that is sensitive.
On the other side.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's interesting how they're talking about how that's such a burden, and as a way of life. That's really interesting.
The only supernatural experience I've ever had was I was in my home, and the stereo was playing and the children were playing, and it was loud. And I told my then husband, "Somebody, do you hear that? Somebody's calling for help." And he said, "I don't hear anything." I said, cut the music down." I said, "Do you hear it now?" He said, "I don't hear anything." I said, "I'm telling you, someone's calling for help. Go outside and find out." So it was raining, and he went outside around the house to investigate. And sure enough, our neighbor, who was elderly, had fallen in the backyard. And he said when he got to him, he was whispering. And somehow I heard that.
Wow.
Yeah. My mother had a very similar experience with my brother too. So I don't know, maybe it's hereditary.
Maybe. Oh, wow. That's unique. Wow. Okay, so tell people how they can, if they want to come to Suffolk and listen to Mary Margaret, tell them a tale or sing them a body song. Where should they go?
Well, you go up to the Visitor Center website. There isn't anything up there yet, because we do them in early spring to through the winter, but so we're not doing them right now. But there's the whole year's calendar for the Ghost Walk, and will be up there on the site.
When in the spring do you begin?
In March.
April, March. Okay, alrighty. So March through what?
December.
December. Okay, alrighty. So they can go to the Visitor Center, and all the information is there for them to to figure out. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much,
Oh, thank you for
Karen
having me. I
Washburn.
appreciate it.
We've enjoyed having you here, and Mary Margaret visiting us and telling us all these fantastic stories. And if you have a story that you'd like to share with us, you can always email me at ashley.knight@wavy.com. That's ASHLEY dot KNIGHT@wavy.com. And who knows, we might have you on our next episode of Ghost Tales. We'll see you next time.